All right, guys, this is the final part of our USS Enterprise as seen in Discovery model build session. So this is the completed model. This is an 18-inch long model just put out by Round 2 to represent this new updated Enterprise. This model has been an absolute blast to build. It is absolutely fantastic to have been able to build a modern Star Trek model kit. There are so many times if you build Star Trek models that you end up having to build something from the 80s, 90s, or even early 2000s, and you have gaps, you have fit problems, it's hard to make it work, and there's a ton of extra work if you want to light it. This kit has none of those problems. This is exactly what a kit should be in the year 2020. The fit is wonderful. Something like this, the top of the nacelle seam where those two halves fit together, is something that has really plagued people who built Star Trek models for decades. And in this kit, it really is use some model cement, glue the two sides together, and sand it down. You do still have to sand it like you would on any model seam, but sand it down a little bit, and within about 5 minutes, you will have a nice looking seam. Something like this that has these tiny windows that need clear parts to fit into them have been an absolute terror in a lot of Star Trek model kits. Either not fitting well, not fitting the entire window, or just being a dozen different pieces that have trouble fitting in. These are large clear pieces. You press up against the hole and they fit in the windows perfectly. All of these windows are put into the kit for you. And that's a huge change from model kits even 10 years ago. Most of the other Enterprises, you're drilling out your own windows. All of these are put in for you. And you can really zoom in here and see these window clear parts fit the windows exactly. There's no gap between the clear piece and the opaque piece. All of these window pieces fit up against the hull nicely, and there's no tiny little bits you have to figure out. There's about 5 large panels of clear windows that you just press in from the outside, and it just works. It's a wonderful fit, especially for the windows. Now, speaking of windows, any modern Star Trek model kit should have a way for you to light it. Before you get to talking about the official lighting kit, there's tons of things the model kit makers have made in this kit to make it very, very easy, nice, and fun to light. So obviously you have the clear windows. The other thing you have is you have an incredible channel here in the pylon that fits 3 fairly decent sized strands of red and black wire. So you easily can run 6 different single strands through these pylons. It's absolutely fantastic. So no drilling out windows, no needing to carve trenches in the pylons. You even have housings in this nacelle that can hold motors provided for you in the lighting kit. But if you are a do-it-yourselfer, you could probably try and find some that would fit yourself. For these back exhausts, clear parts for the grills, clear parts for the impulse engines, even a clear shuttle bay piece to provide some fantail lighting if you can mask it off properly. And even beyond just making a good kit with good clear windows, they have gone ahead and they've put little standoffs within the saucer to point your LEDs at every single window. That's something you could take advantage of whether you get the official lighting kit or you're building your own. You have standoffs in the main hull that can hold your LEDs for you. And you've got standoffs within the kit on these grills to hold LEDs in place. So man, this is a model kit that Star Trek modelers have really been asking for in a long time. They've always been asking for about an 18-inch USS Enterprise. It's a great size for a model. It fits on a bookshelf. It's large enough to augment and change, and it's large enough to have fun with the paint job. This is also a wonderful update to the original 1960s USS Enterprise. This is a lot more faithful to what we saw on screen for TOS than what we saw in the 2009 movies and Star Trek Into Darkness and Star Trek Beyond. This is a US Enterprise that really follows the same lines and a lot of the same design points as the 1960s Enterprise. This is a TOS Enterprise that you could see being easily refit into the motion picture Enterprise. This is an Enterprise that fits with the overall aesthetic from the NX-01. This is an Enterprise that you can see being an update of the original and not a replacement like the 2009 Enterprise was. So it's a wonderful size for a model, it's a wonderfully constructed model, it's a wonderful design for a ship, and it's made to be lit and upgraded. So all in all, it's an absolutely wonderful model that Star Trek modelers have really been asking for quite a while. And it's not just a guaranteed slam dunk just to make a modern Star Trek kit. We've seen model kits in the past few years for Star Trek subjects that have been really oddly inaccurate, like the Rebel 1500 TOS Enterprise, which just has a lot of weird grid marks in different places. And we saw it last year with the USS Kelvin, that had seemingly 3 or 4 different styles of greeblies going across the top of the saucer that weren't there in the movie. So it's not always a sure thing that a modern Star Trek kit will be a good kit, but this one definitely is. Now, I know there's some purists out there who feel that the TOS Enterprise should never be changed and never be updated, and I'm okay with that. I think that if you don't care for the subject, you probably won't buy the model kit. But if you're okay with the TOS Enterprise being updated, I think this version, as we see in Star Trek Discovery, is the best update we've seen to the USS Enterprise from the original series. Now, the second part of this review is about the light kit. So the light kit starts underneath the stand where you have a battery box. So since this is just wires coming out from the circuit board to the stand, you can replace that with a wall-mounted power adapter. Now, we can talk down in the comments about how you go about finding one of those to buy. You need to make sure that you don't just rush off to Amazon and buy a 4.5 volt power adapter. We can talk in the comments about how to find one that will actually work, but let's look at the kit as it comes. Now, to really review this, we need to decide what is kind of the idea behind this lighting kit. So when you make a lighting kit and you sell it for a specific model and you're just going to put it out on the shelves in a hobby shop, it needs to work, it needs to light the kit, it needs to be easy, it needs to be something that somebody can just go in and buy, glue into the model, and have work. And that's why this lighting kit is a huge success. You don't need special knowledge to be able to wire this ship up. You need to glue LEDs into place where they tell you to. You need to be able to follow directions and push together push connectors. And at the very end, you need to twist some wires together and wrap them up with electrical tape. It is a simple job that anybody can do. So if you've never lit a model, this would be a great one to start with the official lighting kit. So what do we get that's actually lit up on the ship? The first thing you can see is we do get all the windows in the hull, the windows in the neck. You can see that we get windows along the saucer. You can see that we get our planetary sensor dome, and you can see that we get these nice blue grills along the nacelle. Here's a quick shot of the other side of the engineering hull. Along the top of the saucer, you do get these bridge windows. You get this ray of light that shines out towards the registry. On the nacelle, you get some light shining here for blue lights. You get a little bit of light right beside the registry. And of course, you get the motor to spin the fan in the front of the warp nacelle. Towards the back, we end up with some lights along the fan tail. Another shot of the blue grille for the warp nacelle. And a nice shot of the back to see the impulse engines. You can see this rear clear piece for the warp nacelles. And you can see some more of the fantail lights done by masking off that clear part. Now you can go back to my video on the lighting kit to see everything that comes in the kits. It replaces some of the clear parts with tinted parts that they've already colored for you. And I haven't painted any of the clear parts on this model. These are all the tinted plastic from round 2 in the lighting kit. So the red Bussard collectors, the blue grills on the nacelle, the impulse engine inserts, all of those you won't need to paint if you get the lighting kit. So yes, the lighting kit is $80. I do feel that it really is worth it, especially because this is going to let people who have never lit a model before light the model. I'll probably say this again when we get to the Aztec decals, but this really is a hobby and it should be fun. So there's going to be a lot of people out there who have fun when they build their own lighting kits. There's people who have fun playing with circuit boards and making things flash. And if a fun part of the hobby for you is doing things from scratch, this is probably not a product you're considering getting. And it's probably not made for you. It's not made for somebody who wants to tinker with the lighting. This is made for people who want to put lights in a model easily, simply, without having to worry about whether or not it's going to work, without having to worry about how many LEDs to use. It's a plug-and-play solution, and at being a plug-and-play solution, it succeeds wonderfully. And compared to prices of garage kits, you're probably not going to find something cheaper that will light the entire model unless you're soldering and connecting and doing things all yourself. Now, the third part of this review is about the Aztec decals. All of these wonderful patterns on the hull, down to all these gray stripes, are done with decals on this build of the model. Now, just like I said before, this is a hobby, and there's parts of it that are going to be fun for you. There's parts that aren't going to be fun. And if part of the fun for you is using the vinyl masks and airbrushing your panels and really getting kind of intricate with an airbrush, once again, the Aztec decals are probably not a product for you. What these are a product for somebody who isn't comfortable with an airbrush, who doesn't want to use vinyl masks, or somebody who's been burned by vinyl masks before with them pulling up paint or leaving sticky residue. Once again, this is an out-of-the-box solution to give the Aztec decals. And just like with most of the other things in this kit, there's some really, really cool things done with the Aztec decals. Now, last year when I did the little model kits and I did the Aztec decals for the Discovery, I loved them. They laid flat. It was really nice. When I got to the Discovery and did the Aztec decals on the little kits, they were much harder. It was a lot harder to get the decals to lay flat along these curved surfaces. I ended up with a lot more wrinkles here just because it kind of has to curve in a couple different directions to fit on this. So I was really kind of nervous when it was time to start working on the Aztec decals for this ship. But it really was nice. They made a lot of really clever decisions on how to get these decals to lay flat. And I think that you'll agree, these decals really do lay flat across the hull. And you've got one that goes across here. Then I believe you have another here and one across the front. You have two going across here. And most of these line up with panel lines, which makes them very easy to fit on. So you've got one that lays in here, and then one that goes along this panel line to kind of stretch across the top here. So they fit well, they don't wrinkle, they're very, very easy to line up. The nacelle was another one when I was really worried about getting this to lay flat, but you do have a decal that runs here, a decal for the top of this, a separate decal for this part. You have a decal that runs across the top, and then a separate decal. Actually, I think this is one decal that is kind of wide to here, then gets narrow to go across the top, and then you have another decal to meet it here. So you really look at this nacelle and you don't see places that aren't covered in the Aztec decal. It's really nice. Along this side, you get a decal that comes here, then gets wider to go up, and then narrow again. Then you have kind of the same thing here, a small one here, and a double wide one here that gets narrow to go over the top of that fin. Here you get a separate one here, a separate piece on top, a piece on the bottom. So they really divide this up so that they fit along these curved surfaces very, very nicely. And I was really thrilled to get very, very few wrinkles as I kind of worked on this ship. The only place I really had any wrinkling was kind of right here across the top of this nacelle. And they do advise you to cut this a little bit so it can kind of flare out as the nacelle flares out there. I'd go even further. I would cut this entire half off, then cut this entire half off, cut those into two separate pieces, and you'll probably have better luck. Absolutely no problems with getting the decals on the outside of the pylon. And I hope you'll agree, there's really no wrinkling on these Aztec decals down the main hull either. There's a really nice shot of the kit decal that provides that pennant that goes across the hull. These pennants, the red stripes, the red shapes, the yellow arrowhead, all of those, both here and along the nacelle, those are molded into the plastic. That'd make it really easy for people just to paint those stripes on themselves. So I'm really anxious to see some people actually paint those instead of using the decals. So once again, something where an advanced modeler can kind of take things to a different level. And here's the top of our saucer. Once again, the Aztec decals go right up against each other. You can see that they do manage to go into this little inset part very, very easily. They provide a very complicated pattern with very little work. Once again, this was a very fun thing to do. And you can see they really do find ways to get those decals to fit around some of those complicated curved surfaces. So if I had to summarize things, this is a wonderful ship design that I think is exceptionally faithful to the TOS Enterprise. I think it's a fantastic modern model kit that fits the way a model kit should, that gives you tons of upgrade possibilities for somebody who wants to take this model further than out of the box. Now, my reviews are almost always mostly out of the box because I want to show you what the model kit is like by itself. I hope a ton of you watch these videos and see a dozen things that you want to do differently, things that you want to build up better. I hope these videos help you guys plan out your builds. I hope some of you are looking at this and think about ways you can do the paint better or do the lights better. That's kind of the point of these review videos. But the other point I really want to share is that this is a great looking model out of the box. If you build it up according to the instructions, use the light kit and use the Aztec decals, you can have what I have in front of me, which is a wonderfully detailed model, a lit model that can really be something that can kind of be shown off in your model collection. So it really is great to see a modern model kit that really hits on all fronts. Good fit, good accuracy, good upgradability, and still looks this good just straight up out of the box. So that's the review I have for the USS Enterprise from Discovery, hopefully to be seen soon in the new series, Strange New Worlds. I'll do another video where I answer any questions that you guys have or shows any views that you guys haven't seen before. So anything else you want to see, put down in the comments and I'll make another questions and answer video. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. It has just been an absolute pleasure building this model, and I hope the rest of you guys have as much fun building yours as I did on mine.